In this video, we will talk about Power Pivot in Microsoft Excel. It is a very important feature that most of us have not worked on. This will help you to understand how to create the data model, how to import the data first, and then create the data model. Out of the data model, how to create the reports, how to create the dashboards in Microsoft Excel. So we will use pivot tables, pivot charts as well at the end. So it will be a comprehensive end-to-end Excel masterclass. So if you are newbie in Excel or you are a pro, still this video will be very useful because if you are doing data analysis on your day-to-day basis, this video is very important. So let's get started. So as you can see on the screen, these are the steps that we will follow while working on this masterclass. So first of all, we will import the data from various locations. Then we will explain the data model in Power Pivot. So what is the data model and how we can create that? So it will include the relationship building. It will include creating new records or new tables, all those things. Then next step would be adding the calendar table. So as we have worked on Power BI desktop, you always create a date table, right? So it's similar, like date table or calendar table is same, right? Then we will try to clean the data if required, then transform the data, and then finally we will work on creating the pivot tables. So pivot tables are the end product where we can use the pivot charts or pivot table to show the end user what is the data looking like. Once we are done with this, we will try to create some DAX measures as well. So it's not just with the Power BI that we can create DAX. In pivot table, in pivot Power Pivot, we have DAX measures. So it's not just like in Power BI that we have DAX measures. So it is there in Power Pivot as well. So we will try to create the DAX measures in there. Once we are done with that, we'll again create the pivot tables and charts to showcase how it looks like, and then we will create more DAX measures. So at the end, you will see a beautiful dashboard that will be dynamic, and it is important for us to understand all the steps. So basically, we will do data integration, and then we will do data modeling, and finally working on pivot tables and charts. So let's start with step number one, data integration. All right, so let's start with the first step, that is importing the data. So for that, we have to go to data tab, and we have to see this section. If you're familiar with Power Query, so you should know this get and transform data. So we will click on get data, and currently my source data is CSV file in desktop. So I'll go to from file and click on from text CSV. And these are some of the files that I have to import. So let's start with customers. I'll click on that and click on import. So once I click on import, if it will give me the pop-up if I have to go to Power Query or I have to just load directly. So these are the two options that will be given. So currently let's start with transform data so that I can go to Power Query and then maybe we can transform there. So now we are on Power Query and we can see the customer query has been loaded here, and looks like the data is clean, nothing is problem. Customer key is integer, gender is text, name is text, city is text, state code is text, then state is also text, zip code is 123, which looks fine. But I think we have some alphanumeric zip codes as well. Looks like it's fine, so no need to worry. Yeah. So we can see here, so if I sorted this, I wanted to see if we have some errors. We can see we could not convert to number. So these are some of the details. So it's saying there are some of the values which are alphanumeric, not just text, not just numbers. So I'll just delete this step and I will go here in zip code, and I have to change this to text, replace current. And now this should be fine. If I sort this descending, I'm getting all the values. Now this looks good. Country is also text, continent text, birthday is text. This should be my date. Now if I convert this in date, you can see there are some of the errors because so we cannot pass the input provided as date value. Details is 5/29/1998. So what this is doing is, so currently these dates are coming from the US format. So it is saying date, month, and year. But now what we can do is, instead of changing this, I'll go here and go to using locale. And this is common practice. So if you have dates from in US format and you want to change it to India format or Australia format. So we can go here, we can go to date, and locale is United States because that is where it is coming from. So I'll just go to English and United States. So once I do, you can see here. So 3/29, it is March 29. That is it depicting. So let's see if this works. So if you see here, everything is fine. I don't have any error here. So we are fine with this, right? So what is this sorted? We can remove the sorted rows. We don't need that. All right. So we are done with the customers table. So we have imported the table and then we have cleaned the table as well. So this is perfectly fine for our data modeling. Now we will add a new source. So again, go to text CSV and instead of customers, we'll take exchange rates this time. And okay. So this table has date. It should be date, data type, replace current, and then currency is ABC, exchange is 1.2. 1.2 is decimal number, so it is totally fine. Now again, we will go to new source, file, text CSV, go to the next table that is products. And now again, click on OK to load this table. Now we will see the data types again for this. Product key is integer, product name is text, brand is text, color is text. This is decimal, which is fine. Decimal subcategory, this is text. Sorry, integer, then this is text, integer, text. All right, so now you can see here some of the columns which were not required came here. So what we can do is we can have from this column to the first column, I'll select this, right click and remove other columns because I don't want any other column from here, right? So there was another way I could have removed those undesired columns as well. But then in case the new column comes in, if you import again, so there might be another column that will come. But this time I have said remove other columns. That means I will always have these columns irrespective of any number of columns that are added there, right? So now I'll go again to new source and go to text CSV and go to sales. So I'm trying to import all the tables and showing you step by step because it is important to see how it goes. Otherwise, I could have skipped and imported once, right? So in sales table, you can see order number is line item is fine. Again, in order date is incorrect, same issue. So that's the locale issue. So I'll just remove this step and go here, go to using locale, and this should be using United States format. So I'll just go here, English and United States, and in data type, it should be date. So let's click on OK. Let's see how it goes. This is fine. This should be my whole number and order number is fine ABC. Generally, if it is there, this should be text, but this doesn't make much difference. So it's up to you how you want to change it. Delivery date should be my date. Again, the same error, so I'll just go to using locale. And here it should be English, United States. And data type should be date. Click on OK. So now you did that, but you already changed. So what I can do is I have to remove the first step. And now this looks good, right? So now we have this date. This is also a date. Now this is my customer key. So you should be sure that customer key data type of this should be same as this. So here customer key is integer. So I'll go to sales and change the customer key to integer as well, which is whole number. And store key, it should be on the base of store table that we will add. Product key, in product key we have, where is my product key? Yeah, so this is 123, that is my whole number. So if I go here, go to product key, it should be my whole number. Account should be, sorry, quantity should be my whole number for sure. right? And currency code is text. That's totally fine. Now let's try to import the last table, that is my store, and click on OK. In store, this is 123, country is ABC, that is text, state is text, square meters 123, open date should be my date. So again, there is error. So let me remove this change type. Now I'll go to the data type of open date, click on using locale, and this should be my date. This should be English United States, and click on OK. And this is fine. So now this is fine. ABC, this should be my whole number. State should be text for sure. Country is text. Store key is my integer whole number. And same I'll change in sales. So store key should be my whole number. Right. So in stores, if you see here in states, I can see there are some spaces. For this, for example, Tasmania, I have some trailing blanks. So what I can do is I'll right click. If I go to transform, I can do the trimming part or I can do cleaning part. So if I trim, so you will see all the white spaces, all the whites on the left hand side or right hand side, all the trailing or leading spaces will be removed. So this is a very easy way of cleaning the data, right? So now we have cleaned all these tables and we have imported. So what I can do is I can click on close and load. This is important to understand when we're working on Power Pivot. So these are two options, close and close and load too. So I'll click on close and load too because I don't want to load in Excel, right? So select how you want to view this data in your workbook. Is it table? Is it pivot table? Is it pivot chart? Or is it only create connections? So I don't want this table to be loaded in Excel and have different tabs. So I don't want to create a table. So I'll say only create connection. I just want to have a connection so that the data sits in Power Query and it's not coming in Excel per se as a storage. So that's the reason we can have multiple records. We can have millions of records and Excel won't bother. And while working on data model, it is important to take this one, add this data to data model. This is the most important step in this particular video, right? So if we select this and click on OK, so there will be connections from customers, exchange rates, products, sales, and stores. So once we are done with the connections, I'll show you that in Power Pivot. All right, so this is fine. There are some errors. We can address it now. Let's see. So you just need to click on the errors and you will be redirected to the errors. All right, so if you see here, I'm getting errors in the date. All right, so here, instead of change type step, remove that and again go to using locale and go to English United States. So once you select this and date is selected, click on OK, and this should be totally fine. I can delete errors and this is perfect. All right, so now I can say close and load this time. And perfect, right? You can see there are no errors now. So now we have created the connections. How to see these connections? If I hover on customers, I can see this is my data in customers, right? I have 10 columns. So last refresh was this time. So all right, so now that we have imported the data in Power Query and then created the connection with the Power Pivot, now it's the time to go to the Manage section and see how the data model looks like. If you click on Power Pivot here and then go to Manage, you will see all the tables that are listed there. So we have customers, exchange rates, products, sales, and stores. So these are the 5 tables that we have created here. And this is how my data looks like. If I click on diagram view, So you will see all the tables over here. So customers is my table, that is dimension table. Then my products is also my dimension table. Sales is my fact table, so I can keep it in center. Stores is again my dimension table. So let's keep it right now like this. So this is my sales table, and exchange rates is over here. So we have these tables and I can create the relationships between them. So customers and sales will have connection through customer key. So I can click there and drag it over here to customer key. This will create a relationship between these two tables. Now in products and sales, again, I have with the product key, I can drag from here. First of all, I have to see where the product key is. Then I'll drag from here to here. Similarly, with the store key and store key here from stores table, I'll create a relationship. All right, so this is how you can create the relationship here. Now the time is right to introduce the date table, because once we have the date table, that will be a dimension table that will be connected to sales table and as well as exchange rates, right? So now here, I'll go back to my design. So if you click on design, so there are three tabs: home, design, and advanced, right? So go to design and click on date table and click on new. Yeah. So now this table has been created here. You can see, but let's go to home and click on data view and want to see the calendar. So calendar right now, it starts from 1935 and you can say it can go up to 2024, but I don't want it to start from 1935. So maybe I can go to design and in date table, update range, and it should start from, let's say, 2015, or it can change on the base of the data you have. So from this to 2025, let's say, click on OK, and this data will be updated from 2015 to 2025. So it's a 10 years range. And I can set the default as well. So this is fine now, and I can mark this as date table. If you want to go to settings, you can see this is my date. And if you want to set this as a unique identifier or not. So if you want to change it, you can change it from here. But for us, this will be the unique identifier. So let's keep this as it is. So now we have created the calendar table as well. Now go back to home tab and click on diagram view. And now this one should be connected. So my order date should be connected to date. So this relationship has also been built. And similarly with exchange rates date connected to calendar. All right. So now we have created this data model. So this data model looks like we have customers, products, stores, and calendar as dimension tables. We have sales table, which will provide all the details of the orders that we have. And this will have some of the columns coming from these dimensions so that we can see which store it is getting the sales from, which product it is, what customer is asking to get this order, and which date. So we have all these data. Exchange rates table is there to fetch the exact exchange rate on the particular date, because in sales table, if you go back, if you see the data view and go to the sales table, you will see here for the orders, the currency code is not just USD, it will be AUD, CAD, European dollars, and various other currencies, right? So you cannot say like, hey, what is the total sales? So quantity multiplied by uh, the price of the product. Because if we have to get the total sales, it should be in a particular currency. And let's say we make a USD as a default currency. So we have to convert all other currencies into USD to get the total sales in USD or in other currency, depending on what you want, right? So you can't just summarize, hey, total sales is, for example, one quantity into price, that is USD, but some other details are in AUD, that is Australian dollars, but you cannot sum those values, right? Because these are different currencies. So we have to make them in a particular currency so as to do the addition. All right. So that's the reason we have exchange rates table. And we can do the merging, or we can create the DAX measures to get this output. All right, so now that we have understood the designing part, so if we go to home and click on diagram view, you can see this is all modeling that we have. And this is similar to what Power BI is having, because in Power BI we have the data model, and you can have build the relationship one to many and many to many, or many to one, depending on the situation, right? So now I can close this, and now I'm back to Excel. So whatever we were doing, it was not in Excel, it was in Power Pivot. So just in case you're thinking, where is Power Pivot? So for that, go to developer mode, click on COM add-ins. So it should be in COM add-ins. So you can see this is the Power Pivot for Excel. So I have selected this and click on OK. So you can add this or remove this on that. Right, so we have DAX Studio as well, Power Map, Data Streamer for Excel. So depending on what you want, you can add those add-ins in your Microsoft Excel. So now that Power Pivot is there, you clicked on Manage, and this will show you the data that we have. You can play around with the various tables, and you can go to diagram view and see how the data looks like. And then you can also add new data from these devices, from databases, from existing connections. You want to refresh, you can refresh from here. If the data is changed, you will have a newly refreshed data. So this is the best use case of that. So now, now we have imported the data. So this is done. Data modeling, basic model part is done. So we have done this, we have explained this part, we have added the calendar table, we have cleaned. So these 4 steps are done. I can go to home and make it green. Oh, this is good. Right, so these 4 parts are done. In transform data in currency rate per se, what we can do is, if we go back to Power Pivot and go to Manage, and if we go to Sales, so now what we want is, we want to have a particular value of this. For example, if we have to convert all the values in USD, so this will remain as it is. So we want to add a new column here, which should be 1 for USD. So for example, this is 1. So if we say equal to 1 here, right? So here it is equal to 1. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this should be equal to 1. But whenever the currency code is, let's say AUD, it should not be 1. It should be the equivalent conversion from AUD to USD, because we want to convert everything in USD, right? So what we can do is, I'll just delete this because this is not required. I'll go back to the Excel, and now from here, I'll go to my Power Query. So I can double click here and maximize this. In sales table, I want to merge some of the data on the basis of date and currency. So if we merge and get the equivalent currency code from exchange rate, that will be outstanding, right? So what I'm saying is, for USD, you can see it was always 1. The exchange is always 1 because it is converting from USD to USD. Now CAD into USD is 1.15. So if the value of anything is 1 CAD, 1 Canadian dollar, that is equal to 1.1583 US dollars for that particular day. So what I'll do is, I'll go to sales table, I'll click on transform data, and no, actually this should be my in home, go to merge queries. And once you click on merge queries, I'll add exchange rates, and then click on order date. From here, it should be date. And from here, it should be my currency. And it should be my currency here. So once you have selected, you should see one over here and two over here. So one should be equal to one here. So order date and date. Two is currency code here and currency here. So we are merging on the base of these two combinations and click on OK. And this would be left outer join. And this time I just want my exchange to come in. I don't want to keep original column name prefix. So I'll just click on OK. So this is the actual conversion. So this is my actual, uh, like you can say, value. So if so I don't have to worry about this column anymore. So I'll say this is my exchange on the basis of USD, right? So predominantly, if I have to calculate, it should be this quantity multiplied by this value multiplied by the price to get the sales, right? And you can see here, this is one of the dummy call row that has been created here, which we don't want. I can remove the nulls from here. That will be totally fine. All right, so now that we have added the exchange, we have transformed. I can close and load. And I'm back to Excel. This will take a couple of seconds to load the data in sales table. Now we have done this. Go to manage again, and you will see in sales table we have this exchange USD. I can remove this filter from here. We don't need that. All right, so now we are done with this part. We have transformed the currency rate. I can go back to this and make this one. All right, so before we create some DAX measures, which is important here in order to get total sales and all those things, let's try to create one pivot table to understand how that goes, right? So if we go back here to manage data model, you can see we have customers, we have exchange rates, we have products, we have sales, stores, and calendar. Now we have to create the pivot table from here. So sales is there. If we see here, we have option of pivot table. So I can click on pivot table. So I can click on new worksheet, click on OK, and this will load into new sheet. And this will give me the options of all the tables that we have in this data model, right? Let's say we want to do the analysis of customer. So, so we have name of the customer, and from sales, from sales table, we can have the product key. So from this, we can change it to the count. So in order to change this, you can click here, click on value setting. I want to do count. So this will give me the total products that all the customers have purchased. So for example, J Myring, she purchased 9 products in her lifetime of the purchase cycle from this company. For example, one more thing I want to show, if I go here and go to diagram view and remove the relationship between customers and sales, you can see there is no relationship, right? Now, if I close this and go over here, you can see there is no relationship, so I'm not able to create anything. This is incorrect. So it is giving the count 62,884, which is the total count of the product for all the customers, right? So I'm not able to get anything. This is useless, right? So also this Excel is saying relationships between the tables may be needed. So you can click on auto detect or you can click on create. Generally, I don't use auto detect. It is not that great. So I'll click on create. And then from here, I can go to my customers and relative will be sales. Here my column would be customer key and click on OK. And this will create the relationship. If I go to my manage section and go to the diagram view, this will be there now because we have created the relationship, right? So that's how we can create the relationships. So Excel is smart enough. It will detect that there is no relationship between the two tables then when you are trying to create some kind of analysis, right? So this is how you can use. Let's say I want to do analysis on store, or let's say states. So remove the customer. I want to have the countries as well. Country, state, and then quantity from the sales. I'll remove the product key. So now you can see in Australia we have 5 states which are selling this, and we can see on the basis of total quantity. Then we have in Canada 3 states, in France we have these many states, in Germany these many. So this is all the data that we have, and total, these are the total number of quantity sold, which is somewhere around 197,957. All right, so you can change the formatting of this as well. So if you go here and let me just maximize this and select this and go to home, you can click on accounting and this will change. You can remove the decimal figures as well. So this is how you can see over here. All right, so now from here, if you want to create a chart, well, that is a pivot chart. So you'll just click here, go to pivot table analyze, and you need to select a pivot chart from here. And this will suggest you that this is a better solution maybe, but I would say you have to dynamically see which is good for your situation. And let's say if we go with this one and double click there, it won't give any sense because you can see the online is giving you a lot of data. So what I can do is, if you think online is not required, I can just go there and unselect online and click on OK. And you will see it is making much more sense now, right? Because there are two channels, online and offline. This is all data which is giving me offline data, right? So I can make this total sales for offline channel, let's say. So this is simple, and it will give me understanding that, hey, the maximum is coming from Canada territory, Northwest territories, somewhere around 4,894 quantity sold, right? So we can filter from here as well. If you want to remove these, I can just hide all feed buttons from the chart. I can modify this. So this is not required. I can delete this, or from here I can change the access title, add them and make the changes. I can have the data table as well at the below, but it won't make much sense because we have the small space over here, right? So we can also add the trend line, but in this case we don't need that. So you can change the table datas and from here. All right, so now that we have created one pivot table, one pivot chart, now is the time to work on DAX measures. All right, so now that we have worked on creating the pivot table and pivot charts, now is the time we will create first DAX measure, and then we will go ahead with making more DAX measures because this is important. Let's say you want to create a dashboard and want to have a total sales card. How you will add that? Because we have different exchange rates, right? So for that, we will go to Power Pivot, click on Measures, click on New Measure, and this is where we will create our first measure. So this will be, let's say, total sales, and formula would be same as DAX because this is DAX, so we'll say sum X. So it will return the sum of expressions evaluated for each row of the table, and the table would be my sales table. And then here I'll add the quantity first. It should be multiplied by the exchange that we had created, and this should be multiplied by the price. Price will come in from the products table. So products table, we can't just directly multiply, we have to use related. In related, we will have this price. So it will come from products table and it is unit price USD, right? So now we have created this and bracket close. In description, we can say this measure will calculate the total sales of the company, right? So it is currently categorized as general. We can make it currency or you can make it number. So up to 2 decimal is fine and use thousand separator. Click on OK. So we have created our first measure. So if you go back here, you will see manage measures and you will see there is one measure created. All right, so now that we have created the text measure, first of all, let me just highlight these two things that we have done. Now we have created total sales. Let's go back to the pivot table. And sometimes you don't find the field list. So you can go to, once you click on the pivot table, click on pivot table analyze and click on field list. So you will get back your pivot table fields. Now, if you search here, my total sales, you will see this is there in customers table and it is shown as FX, right? So if you, let's say, drag here, so this will give you total sales for each territory, and this is actual total sales in USD, right? So if you go down, so total is 43,918,096. So this is the total sales of the company, and this is individually for each country and state. And without DAX measure, you can't create this. It is really tough to have these values, and it is so dynamic and so good that you can play around with this. Let's say if you want to create a new table and you want to go from, let's say, pivot table, and you're going to manage pivot table, and you want to create a new worksheet, and here you want to do product analysis. Let's say product analysis, right? So you will search for product table, and in product table we have product name, we have brand as well, we have subcategory or category. So if you select everything, and here you will select quantity in values, and you will also select the total sales, right? So now you will see here, first of all, I have to, let me just do it first. So now here we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, total 8 categories we have. For each category, the total quantity that is sold and the total sales happened here, right? So this is the actual total sales. Maybe in the previous one, sheet one, this was 43 million, because here we have filtered out the online sales, right? So this was not the total sales. Here, this is giving me total sales, that is 55,349,466 dollars, and this is including the online sales, right? So now let me just expand this, and Bluetooth headphone, third, fourth. Let me just delete the fourth layer, first, second, third, and fourth product name. So now this is better. So here you have this category audio, and subcategory for audio are Bluetooth, headphones, MP4 and MP3, recording pen, all those things, right? So now you have for each category, for each subcategory, for each brand, how the sale is looking like. And this can be even converted into pivot chart. So for example, if you see here, this is not making sense because you have so many layers in your uh, y-axis. So it is like category, subcategory, brand. So it is important for us to understand which analysis you want to do. Let's say I want to delete everything. Let's delete brand as well. Now you can see for each category how the sales is looking like. Computers is number one. I can see from the chart. And from here as well, you can see computers is giving me somewhere around $19 million, right? So here I can sort this as well. I can sort this from here, more sort option, descending from on the base of total sales. So you'll see computers is number one, and the last is games and toys with somewhere around $718,602. Right, so this is how you can play around with the pivot tables and charts. And then once you're done with your pivot chart, you can easily copy this and create a new page as a dashboard, let's say. And here you're pasting it, right? And from the view, remove the grid lines to make it feel like a dashboard. And here you can add this. Similarly, from the sheet one, I can copy this, and in dashboard, I can paste this. So it will come like this. Now, very interesting part is if you want to add the slicers like filters that we have in Power BI, you want to have slicers like for financial years, like if you want to filter on a particular month or a quarter, or if you want to filter on a particular country, want to see analysis on a country wise, you can do that, right? So for that, again, you will go here in pivot table, analyze, insert slicer, and I want to insert the slicer for, let's say, I'll insert for my stores, right? So I'll add the country, I'll add the state, press on OK. So now if you've added this state and country from here, and if you right click and see the connections, you press on OK for both and click on OK. And now if you, let's say, filter on Australia, so data changes, right? If you filter on France, the data will change, right? So this is how you can, play around with the data, and this is all sweet. So first of all, step one would be to create the pivot tables, and then from pivot table, create the pivot charts. From pivot charts, copy and paste in the dashboard, and you can create as many as dashboards. Now going back to our concepts. So now we have worked on this. And now let's try to create a couple of more DEX measures so that you are getting more used to of how to work on Power Pivot. All right, so now let's try to create uh, two more DEX measures. So first we'll start with sales last year. For that, I'll go to measures, click new measure, mention this as sales last year, and this measure will calculate the sales for the last year. All right, so the formula would be calculate. So whenever you want to modify the context of the filters, you will use calculate. In calculate, I want to calculate total sales, but the filter should be on the basis of same period last year. So I want to calculate the total sales that we have already created the measure. So, but it should be for the previous year. So same period last year on the basis of calendar date, right? Bracket closed. So I just want to show you one more thing. So for first this time, we'll take number, use 1000 separator. That's fine. If I press OK, this will give me error. So it says the expression is not valid or appears to be incomplete. Please review and correct the expression. The end of input was reached. So here I am missing one closing bracket for this one, right? I just wanted to show you this because if the formula is incorrect syntactically, this will give you the error before proceeding, right? So once you have done this, press OK, it will give you the completion. And now if I go back to sheet one where I worked on geography wise total quantity and total sales, I can add over here. Currently, there is no relationship issue, so I can just ignore this. And now I'll go to sales last year, which I created. I'll drag this in the values. And now if you see here, the values are exactly same, right? So if you see for each country and state, the total sales and total sales last year is absolutely same because there is no filter on a year. There is no filter on date, right? So this is showing me for all the years whenever this business was operating. So now is the time we can add the year from the calendar table in the filters. So if I add the filter, so now so as you can see, by default, it's showing 2019. So total sales for 2019 is this, and sales last year is total sales for 2018. You can see the difference in the sales, right? So this is how you can play around. You can change the filters. And if I expand this, this is 2019, let's say 2018, and you can see the changes. But if you select all and press OK, this will give you for the total sales for all the years. So last year will also be the same, right? So by default, you should always have a particular year selected. Let's say this one, and you can see the difference, right? So this is how you can create the measures and you can play around with that. All right, so let's try to create one more measure. So for example, if I go to Power Pivot, click on new measure, and this time I'll say year on year growth percentage. So this time I'll use divide function. So this is absolutely same as DAX. So it will be my total sales minus sales last year divide by last year sales, right? Alternate is zero. And then press, and this should be my percentage, right? So I can go to my percentage and decimal place is zero. Press OK. Right? If I go here and add year on year growth percentage, so you can see here, I'll change the format, but you can see how the change is happening. So last year was 1,20,000 and this time it is 86,000. So you can see minus 28% growth. There is negative growth. And here it is negative even further, minus 81. This is minus 58. This is minus 24. Let's say if I change it to some other year, let's say 2019. So you can see there is a growth, not degrowth. So you can say there is a growth of 62%, there is a growth of 66%. So you can create dynamic measures to add to your pivot tables to make it more dynamic, more useful for the end users and stakeholders. Right, so this is how you can go here in pivot table and go to measures, click on manage tables. You will see all the measures you have created. If you want to edit them, click on edit and go there and change from there. All right, so this is what I wanted to explain. So this is also done. So we have covered all these concepts. Now, very important part. What is data model here? So data model was when we went to Power Pivot, clicked on manage. So this is my data model. Customers, exchange rate, these are all my tables. And all the tables, when connected through a logical relationship, is a data model. So this is my data model. So we can have a star schema, we can have snowflake schema, we can have hybrid. So depending on the situation, depending on number of tables coming in, depending on the relationships that you want to build, you can work on this, right? So there are so many other things, but this is predominantly very important. And all these tables, if you go back to data view, these tables can have more than 10 million records, more than what you expect in Excel, right? So this feature, it helps you to work on Excel without having that limitation. And you don't have to have a Power BI for this, right? So just click on Excel, add your extension of Power Pivot, and you can play around with Power Query and then import it and work on data model. So it's a very interesting and very important concept for any data analyst. If you're a data analyst, for sure, this should be there in your radar. You should know how to import the data, then how to create the data model, and then from data model, how to transform, clean the data, and then create pivot tables and charts. So I hope this video was useful to you. If you follow these steps from start till the end, this will be very useful for you in your corporate journey if you're working on Excel and Power Pivots. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you have any queries, please comment below. And if you want to connect with me, you can connect me with me on LinkedIn or you can mail me as well. So thanks a lot for watching.